Hi, and welcome to our live viewers. This is the Polite Society podcast. We're going to be recording episode 163 here in just a few minutes. 263. Do I hear 363? How about 463? Going once.
Going once.
We're going to be recording episode 263 here in just a few minutes. I want to thank our sponsors, ABN Army Surplus, the Firearms Safety Academy.
Institute.
Thank you.
That's two.
That's two. We also have Concealment Solutions and Crusader Weaponry to thank for providing the bandwidth for our show. And we'll be getting going here in just a few seconds. I would like to remind everybody, of course, you can hit the Q&A app if you're watching on Google+, and you can send us a question. We'll answer it on air.
Dan?
Yo.
Foolish question. Why are you on the podcast? I don't know you.
You don't. Okay, he's not one more gun law. Is that it? Have I got it right?
That's the blog,
okay.
Yes.
I've read that or seen it.
Thank you.
Here's something about Compton getting AR-15s. We ought to rub the Maryland judge's nose in that.
The Compton School District.
Compton School Resource
School
Office.
Police. Yes.
Didn't I say in our little? I started a write-up, didn't I?
You know what Gary is? You only go to TV now?
Are there show notes I should be following?
Let me get you invited. What is your Gmail address?
No, he's already in.
Oh, are you writing?
Left side of your screen.
No, he actually has to be invited in. And in the document itself, he has to be invited in. Then he can bring it up.
Really?
Seriously.
Okay, I believe you.
Just
Trust me, I know which I speak.
Easy, cowgirl.
Oh! I wondered what that was I was smelling. Should ask y'all to wipe your shoes before you got on the internet.
CF, I need your Gmail address.
dan.b.morrison@gmail.com.
Morrison, like the singer?
Yep. Well, actually, Morrison like Marion Morrison.
John Wayne.
John Wayne.
So 2 R's, Morrison.
Yes. Yes. A very distant relative.
L. Neil Smith wrote a alternative universe book where there was an actor named Marion Morrison.
Western actor?
I don't remember. This is a science fiction story. I don't remember how he described him.
Okay, now if you click on the drive, it's a triangle icon on the left side of the Hangout. You should be able to click that and bring up show notes. All right, I haven't heard from Rachel.
She's there.
There she is.
I'm
Hello.
Here. I'm here.
Well, you went to Starbucks somewhere? What happened? You dove into Starbucks somewhere to get online?
Me what? No, I'm home. What?
You kept texting everybody saying, the string is wet. I can't get online.
What? No, I never said I couldn't get online. What?
Somebody did.
That was
That was
John.
John.
Oh,
was
that's
saying-
John.
Yeah, not me. No, I'm good.
I'm so sorry.
They're fine.
Silly Robert.
So John is not getting on, it sounds like, right?
That's
Not
what
so
I heard.
far.
Yeah,
Okay.
he sent me a text saying that his internet is officially down, and he won't be able to join us tonight.
Yeah.
Rob,
Sir.
can you hear the TV on your end? No?
I can hear it.
Rachel can hear it.
Yeah, I'm picking up a little bit in the background.
Yeah. That's what I was afraid of. Cut this.
All right.
Cut this mic. Maybe that'll get rid of it. Is that me? No, you cut me. That was me. There. How about now, Rachel?
I can still hear it.
Well, that's.
By the way, Gary, can you move? Oh, you've got that mic in front of you. You can't move it up. You just blew into
Move it up where?
No, you're blowing into it. Every time you when you breathe, I hear.
No, I know proper mic technique. I'll move over and not blow into it.
Cool.
What?
Oh God! All right, are we ready to cut this intro?
Oh, we're gonna do a podcast tonight?
It would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just hang out and write for a while. Sure.
Okay, here we go. Coming back in 5. Hi, and welcome to the Polite Society podcast, recorded live on month, day, year. I have no damn idea what day it is.
Rumpelstiltskin.
23rd of August.
There we go.
Wait, I totally have the wrong show notes set. No, it just has the wrong date on it. Yeah.
263, I hope.
Yeah, 263.
Hang on, what do I have it?
Does it say at the top?
Yeah, 263. I'm good.
All right.
Okay, let's try that again.
You're not going to say it's 10:53 or whenever because you're doing a reenactment thing.
I listened to an NPR thing earlier this week where they did a report like they were reporting live from the White House 200 years ago when the British started burning it
That
down.
would be cool.
Yeah, it actually was yeah.
That'd be a fun way to learn history.
All right, here we go. Coming back in 5. Hi, and welcome to the Polite Society podcast, recorded live Saturday, August 23rd, 2014. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm Gary Doherty, and we'll talk about self-defense news.
I'm Rob Morse, and we'll have our weekly stories of defensive gun use.
I'm Rachel Malone, and we'll talk with Charlie Foxtrot of the NotOneMoreGunLaw.com.
So climb aboard.
And
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 163 of the Polite Society podcast starts right now. Let's
You want
try
to
that
bet?
one more time, guys, because I screwed that up. Who wants to
Rachel.
strap in?
Rachel.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can take John's.
All
I can
right.
strap in.
As long as you don't strap on, we're good, man.
Been there, done that.
Don't want to hear about it.
More than I. Oh, I have many times. I used to fly with a parachute.
So is Rachel going to strap in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. One more try in 5. Hi, and welcome to the Polite Society podcast, recorded live Saturday, August 23rd, 2014. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm Gary Doherty, and we'll talk about self-defense news.
I'm Rob Morse, and we have our weekly stories of defensive gun use.
I'm Rachel Malone, and we'll talk with Charlie Foxtrot of the NotOneMoreGunLaw.com.
So climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 263 of the Polite Society podcast starts right now. I think that's a keeper.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Let's go right straight in. Yeah. Forget the intro music. Let's go straight into the catch-up segment. Here we go. Coming back in 5. Hey, and welcome back. We are live again from ABN Army Surplus, as we are every Saturday night. And we're going to start off with our catch-up segment. And as those watching live on YouTube can see, there's a new guy at ABN here. Gary Doherty, who normally joins us from Northern Illinois, decided to visit the land of freedom, man. Welcome into South Dakota, dude.
Thank you. We saw the billboards on the way in.
Yeah. So we'll get to what we've done, because we actually have done a lot today. So let's go ahead and jump down to Rachel. What have you been up to since the last time you were on the air?
Well, I actually have some news since Wednesday. Thursday, I was at my neighbor's house, and we just kind of on the spur of the moment decided to go out and do some shooting because we had some steel targets still set up out in the backyard range. We have some property out there, and it's really nice. So we got some great training in, some defensive handgun training. We drilled with each other. It was actually one of the most productive training sessions I've ever had. And the coolest thing is it happened. Literally, we were sitting there and we said, "Hey, let's go shoot." And then, well, I had been looking around for some type of optic for my AR and hadn't really decided what I wanted. I think it was Thursday morning. I thought, I think I really need an EOTech. And it turns out there's a great deal on one on Texas Gun Trader, so I went and snagged it Thursday night. So it was a really good day.
Rachel, I hope you forgive me. I have EOTech envy. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just like you for your gun sights. All right.
Right. Well, Rob, what's been up with you, man?
A buddy and I went shooting yesterday. I got to meet a new gun. It was a Walther, which I'd heard bad things about, and I thought it was fine. Had an absolutely workable trigger, workable reset. It had an ambidextrous safety where the bottom of the trigger guard tips down to drop the mag.
Mm-hmm.
What I liked about that is you can drop it with the weak hand, but you never have to break your firing hand grip on the firearm. So there's none of even the 1911 or even the Glock dance where you have to break your grip to get your thumb on the release. So but it was something unfamiliar. I developed a little reloading drill and shot about 20 reloads. It was great. Good gun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, then joining us for the whole show, he was basically coming in for an interview, but we tackled him and said, "Look, man, you got to join us. You got to hang out." So joining us for the show, and he's been on before, but Charlie Foxtrot is here, man. What have you been up to lately, bud?
Thank you, Paul. Well, I went on a safari. I went hunting for .22 long rifle. And I got skunked.
Oh.
And also Midway gave me a trigger pull gauge finally. So I've been busily testing all my pistols.
Okay.
So it's been a fun time here.
Anything interesting you found with that trigger pull gauge?
The inconsistency. I don't know if I'm not doing it correctly or the Glock is that different in the trigger pull. But it's a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be. About 4.5 pounds as opposed to the advertised 5.5 pounds. But there's a huge range of differing pulls. I need my technique. How's that?
So you're testing the same gun and coming up with different results every time?
Yep. I've tried to take all the variabilities out of it. I'm still getting a probably too much variation from my my comfort. But they are averaging about 4.5 pounds for a trigger pull over about 5 pulls.
Yeah. How big is your variation?
Probably about half pound, maybe even a little bit more sometimes.
Wow, that is a lot.
That's significant. Yeah, that's what about a little over 10%.
Yeah.
Now this is the first time I've tested it, so I think it's my technique, and I have been able to reduce that significantly. So I gotta work on it. But it's a fascinating exercise on trigger pulls.
That the variability was what, 15% roughly?
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
11%, 1 part in 9.
So, again, I'm laying it to bad technique because I like the gauge. It's a GPS, and just have to work on my technique.
Okay. Well, Gary and we've had an eventful day, and I got to say, Gary surprised the hell out of me. This morning was our family range day and potluck, and I'm going to start off by saying I was supposed to be home yesterday at about noon, and the dispatch office called me and said, we have a bit of an emergency. The guy that is supposed to do this dedicated run just called his wife's in the hospital. We don't have anybody to cover it. Can you? I said, when will I get back? They said tomorrow morning. I said, how early? They said, well, as quickly as you legally can. So,
they didn't even give you an approximate time?
Well, with where I picked up and where I went, I picked up in Brookings, South Dakota, which is about 45 minutes north of Sioux Falls, and went up to Minneapolis area. We did 4 drops there, picked one up, and was supposed to be back down in Brookings, but I had already, by the time they dumped this on me, I'd already driven 5 hours. So I wound up spending the night in the Minneapolis area and getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning, started driving at 4 to get down here by 9:30. And, oh, by the way, we're supposed to be leaving for the range at 11. So got really quick packed everything I needed packed for the range, and Susan and I buzzed down there, and as I'm driving up, I recognize Matt, our listener from Sioux City, who now has his own podcast. I recognize his vehicles I'm driving up, and I can see him, and there's this huge guy standing behind Matt. And I thought, God, that looks like the picture of Gary Doherty. It really does. And I get backed in, and then I hear his voice, and it's like, what the heck? So Gary drove all the way from the Chicago area out here just to do the family range day. That just blew my mind.
That's a great reason to sell tickets ahead, just to screen people before they arrive.
Well, Paul and I have been talking. We started about 2-3 months ago talking about having a class so you could get your Illinois permit, and that we talked about on the show why that was not going to happen anytime soon. And he's been trying to get a point where he could drop and hang out for dinner in Illinois, and that hasn't happened. So I saw this was happening, and we talked about it on the podcast, and I said, well, let's go out there. And I've been kind of hemming and hawing about it, and then the weather was not looking pretty, and didn't decide until Friday about 2:30 in the afternoon. I said, let's go. We'll just tough it up. If it rains, whatever. And so we came out here and had an awesome day at the range. Susan made some amazing food and did a bunch of shooting. Saw a portion of Matt's collection. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let Matt shoot my P7, and he said it was the coolest gun he's ever shot. And I thought, oh, that really made my whole trip. And we had Paul and I and Susan, and we all had dinner. And so Paul said, hang out for the podcast. I said, okay. And then we're going to pack this up, and then I'm going to head back to Chicago.
There you go. Now, I got to say that P7 is a very cool gun.
Yeah, it's unique and fun, and just for a 40 caliber, it has an amazing control of the recoil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and everybody talks about how bad the recoil is on a 40, and this was just nice.
Yeah, it's certainly manageable,
Yeah.
and yeah, but there were so many guns out there.
Yeah.
And just had a blast. I mean, you know,
Yeah, really did. Yeah.
yeah, it was. Well, didn't quite have the blast we wanted to have because they wouldn't let me use Tannerite out there.
Yeah, it might frighten some of the neighbors.
What neighbors?
What neighbor?
Anyway, yeah,
see
that's
them from a hill if we had a hill.
yeah. So, well, yeah, I suppose we could have climbed to the top of the berm, but that's kind of what's going on with us. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and go to break because it looks like we got a ton of news. So hang on, everybody. We'll be right back right after this.
Paul,
Okay.
Paul, I can't edit the show notes. I can't
I
input.
thought you could. Let me just a second here.
And what manufacturer is the P7?
Oh, this was right in my neighborhood.
What? Which?
This article that somebody sent in. Who sent it in? Oh, Mark, Redneck Ranch.
Yeah.
Sent us an article about a local junior college, and it's local to me, going into lockdown because a faculty member had an umbrella.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, if you're lucky, you get to read the article, or
Yeah,
write
do you want to read?
voice the article. Well, that kind of sucks. Can I clean
Dan,
that?
do you want to read, or do you want to just comment, or how do you want to do that?
Let me just comment, but Rob had put in there CF question mark asking me what I did with guns, and I haven't been able to respond
Oh,
crap.
on the show notes.
Oh.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
okay. I can't figure out because I show I show you in the notes and I show your cursor that color and I show it sitting there. I just don't know why you can't type.
Well,
You know
my
what I mean?
keyboard is not accepting anything. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm doing it to you. Some keyboards are more equal than others. It's time you learned this, son. You're in the gun rights movement. You'll get used to it. You're officially now a second. I'm a first-class asshole, and you're a second-class citizen. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, who wants the first story? That's your neighborhood.
Oh, geez. Then it can't be good.
No, it's not. No, it's Aurora. I'm sorry. I was looking. I said Aurora, and I thought.
Oh, Aurora, Colorado,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's Aurora, Colorado. I'll take the first one.
Okay.
Second one.
Second one's in my neighborhood. Another idiot.
I'm still typing at the bottom. Are we going to break up the news, you think, Paul?
Paul's doing it right now.
Okay, you assign. I'm still typing at the bottom, just for gun quotes. And we need a... Hey, Rachel, you want to find us a gun quote?
Sure. Let me see what I can find.
I got one.
Okay, what you got?
Michael Bain just put this out. An attack on a hunter is an attack on all hunters and an attack on all gun owners. Respond accordingly. Michael Bain.
Okay. Can you either tell that quote to me again or paste it in here?
I
No.
can't type.
Okay. Say it again. I can type.
An attack on a hunter
Mm-hmm.
is an attack on all hunters, is an attack on all gun owners. Respond accordingly. Michael Bain. Gun Culture 2.0. Gun and Hunting Culture 2.0.
Got it.
Very good.
Who wants to take the story about? I've just been kind of rotating these, but who wants to take the story of the about the positive article about women and guns in CBS this morning?
That should be Rachel,
I can take that.
shouldn't it?
Okay.
Yep.
Where is the tweet from Rahm Emanuel saying what a great guy Michael Bloomberg was? You might want to put that right before Rachel talks about nanny states in the Chicago Tribune poll about because it's kind of tie in Bloomberg, nanny state, da. Rachel could even tie them together when she does them. Oops, too far back. Sorry. I'm reading on my iPad, so it's a little hard to see it. But you see what I'm talking about, Rachel?
I think so.
If you go to like 3 stories down,
Hang
Paul's
on.
tagged on one. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel
Yes,
tweeted
yes.
Okay, so
That should go up before mine. Is that what you're saying?
don't you think? I mean, they're
Yeah.
it's
That works for me. I can move it up unless anybody doesn't want it.
That's cool. Go ahead and move it. Rachel Whiskey 5A has commented on YouTube. Hey Rachel, do you know if it's Texas law that when we open carry rifles, we have to do so with an empty chamber? The Caddy Austin group walked down Guadalupe Avenue today. It was great, but we got. That's it. That's the end of it.
We got a need
Okay.
for more characters in a tweet.
Probably so. Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that. No. Texas law does not require chamber to be empty. I mean, you could be fully chambered. It doesn't even require necessarily safety on. Caddy Austin, as a way of regulating itself and its own members, requests.
Stop breathing into the mic, somebody.
I'm not me. Caddy Austin requests that its members or whoever walks with them carry with a clear chamber, with an empty chamber, and they do chamber checks. So they're checking each other at the beginning of the walk and to make sure that that is the case. So that is a measure of self-regulation, not Texas law.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Okay.
I was when I see these, not necessarily a walk, but when I see these people open carrying long guns with them tied on their, slung to their back, I always worry about somebody coming up behind them and fiddling with the trigger or something like that.
Yeah. And my big problem is the guys that, if you're going to carry, I would appreciate if it was slung on your back. I appreciate an empty
Right.
chamber, because when you carry on a chest rig, that's the same thing as me walking in with my hands, my pistol in my hand.
Low ready.
Low ready.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. 100%. That's the thing is, and like, I'm glad to hear Rachel say that they walk that way, chamber open, just because there are people that do silly things like that to try and make
Yeah.
a point, and
Yeah. Personally, I do carry with my gun slung in front just because I feel like that gives me better control. So I don't like it on my back. No, that's just I feel like I'm not as in control. I can't see who's getting at it. But
Right.
I make a big point that I'm not touching it. I'm not holding it like I would be if I was at a range doing training. It's very much just sitting there like purse on my shoulder. I don't need to be gripping it, getting ready to use it.
Yeah, see, it's the gripping and the.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah. None of that. I very purposely make sure it's very secure, and then I don't touch it.
Well, yeah, and the thing, I think there's a distinct difference between people just doing it to do it and you going on a march. When these guys are running into stores 2 at a time and stuff like that just to stir up, it's totally different than you going on a march with 50 other people that are carrying
passing out literature, talking to people, exactly, with
totally
news
different.
cameras there, and with the police stopping traffic for us and helping us and shaking our hands,
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Okay, well, let's.
There's a hole here.
Sorry?
A self-described environmentalist affiliated with. We need to give that to somebody. It's just before the GPFO one.
That's you, Paul. I can't take all these idiots in Chicago. I will cry right here on the air.
I'm sorry.
Bob has a story after that. So yeah,
that is such a hoot. Don't make me do the one about Chicago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wait, I already have to do one though.
Bartender, make that a double. I'll do Chicago.
Yeah. Yes.
Are we serving wine?
Okay. Are we ready to kick this off then?
Sir.
Okay. And I want to continue. The last couple Saturday shows, man, we've had amazing crosstalk and conversation about these. Really hope that continues. If you got anything to say, please jump in.
Before you, do you want to let Dan catch up because he didn't catch up because he couldn't type? How do you want it? He wasn't on the catch up segment because he couldn't type. Dan.
No,
he caught
I was
up.
on the catch up.
Oh, he did. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hey,
You're right.
Paul,
I'm sorry.
Rachel. Okay, Gary, I'm giving you the third article here.
I'm on the second article.
It goes me, Gary, then me again is what it shows. Me.
Paul, Gary, Paul, Rachel.
Me. Oh, take it. You take it, Rob. You don't have anything up there.
I've got the one right out. Okay, Rachel, you're
no,
Paul again.
I'll take it.
You take the second Paul, Rob.
No, it's
I don't think it really matters.
Let's go.
I am not a pallbearer.
Oh, that was bad.
Who's breathing into the microphone?
Not I.
Hair lip.
No, that was me.
All right, here we go. Hey, and welcome back to our news segment. I've got the first story, so let's kick it off. In a ruling that impacts the legal liability of any business that establishes a so-called gun-free zone, U.S. District Court Judge R. Brooke Jackson ruled that the shooting in the Cinemark Theater in Aurora, Colorado was foreseeable. He said although theaters had theretofore been spared a mass shooting incident, the patrons of a movie theater are perhaps even more than students in a school or shoppers in a mall, quote, sitting ducks, unquote. With that, he denied Cinemark's motion to dismiss the many lawsuits against it, which will now go to trial. Cinemark had contended that the mass shooting in Aurora was, quote, legally foreseeable. That is great news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there is a contention that, this was just a contractual obligation, that if you went in, you consented to be disarmed and defenseless. But the rear doors are also supposed to be alarmed. They weren't. The shooter exited the rear, blocked it open, retrieved weapons, re-entered the theater through the rear door, and murdered. So once you've said, I'll disarm myself, that doesn't mean you have no possible recourse and that the movie theater eliminates any possible liability for their malfeasance.
Right. Absolutely.
And weren't they one of the few theaters that had no security guards?
They're not only in that same area. There were other theaters that were larger and closer to where the shooter lived, but none of them had posted no gun signs. Cinemark was the closest one that did. I don't know about armed security.
I think I read that somewhere.
Wow. I wasn't aware they didn't even have security. Wow, that's...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's.
So our next story is a permit to carry does not make you a cop. This is the lesson that a Chicago area man with an Illinois concealed carry permit is learning the hard way. Al Ozturk, 34, had tried to enter a bar in Albany Park on Monday night. The bar had a bouncer who tried to pat him down upon entering. He told the bouncer that he worked for the Officers Division of Adult Institutions and then flashed a metal badge. He later admitted that he got it off eBay. Ozturk was arrested a short time later at a nearby pool hall, and a witness told police he was trying to impersonate a police officer. He is now in Cook County Jail, charged with that and under $150 bail.
$150,000.
$150,000, yes.
Yeah.
It just proves that you can sit through a concealed carry course,
16 hours long.
be a Looney Tune, and not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
This is true. Yeah.
Wow. At an Officers Division of Adult Institutions.
Right.
By the way,
Wow.
wasn't there a
Badge
joke
for-
about USMC, meaning Uncle Sam's Misguided Children? I thought that's what he was imitating for a minute.
There's been a couple of incidents like this with concealed carry holders in Illinois, and there was a burglary, and
Yeah, the
Yeah,
burglary
it was-
was recent. Oh,
yeah. So, we can teach them. We just can't make them follow all the rules, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, our next story is right there in the Chicago area as well. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel tweeted his support and praise for the gun control efforts of former Mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, and Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America on Thursday. Bloomberg has pledged $50 million to help get gun control candidates elected in November, and Moms Demand is pressuring Kroger for law-abiding citizens to keep them from keeping law... edit point. Here we go.
you think?
Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel tweeted his support and praise for the gun control efforts of former Mayor Michael Bloomberg and Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America on Thursday. Bloomberg has pledged $50 million to help get gun control candidates elected in November, and Moms Demand is pressuring Kroger to bar law-abiding citizens from openly carrying guns, even where doing so is legal under state and local law. Emanuel has himself secured gun control measures that ban gun stores in 99.5% of Chicago, which means law-abiding citizens have only about 0.5% of Chicago's geographic area in which they can buy a gun for defense of self, family, and property, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. Emanuel is now defending Bloomberg from a growing backlash against the former New York City mayor's effort to control Americans' lives via gun, food, and soda bans. The backlash was most recently exemplified by an NRA ad which calls Bloomberg out by name. On August 21st, Emanuel tweeted his support for Bloomberg, combined with his support for the gun control group he funds as well. He wrote, quote, "I stand with Mike and the moms," unquote. He said in a second tweet in which he wrote, "No leader has done more to help end gun violence than Michael Bloomberg. He deserves our praise, not the NRA's shameful attacks." Wow.
Should we put that to a vote?
Well, we have been putting it to a vote, actually. Bloomberg tried to back a couple of the politicians for that recall election. He tried to back the guy against the sheriff in Milwaukee. He's being voted down over and over again.
And even Kroger has refused to limit any gun rights.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I have my new favorite grocery store.
There you go. Yeah, we don't have Kroger's around here, but I would
they-
patronize them if we did.
I knew they were pressuring him. I didn't know that Kroger had already come out and said, "Go away, you bother me."
Oh, absolutely. They
Oh
did.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you edited Wednesday's podcast, you'd know.
I
This
would have, but
we
it,
discussed it.
it got in Dropbox just about the time I was getting the ring.
You got home. I know.
What would you have me do? Am I going to give up range time to edit?
Fast-paced world, Paul.
No, don't give up range time. Never. For anything.
Everybody needs trigger time.
Absolutely. Well, moving on to the next story. Living in a nanny state changes one's perception of safety. That is the only conclusion one should draw from the results of a poll in the Chicago Tribune, which found that 55% of the residents of Chicago felt less safe now that concealed carry is illegal in Illinois. However, this finding coincides with the rise in crime in the Windy City. So I take it their feelings don't necessarily coincide with reality. The poll also found support for Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and Chicago Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy was dropping sharply as compared to the previous year.
Rachel, I've written telephone interviews that are done, and it's called a push poll. Meaning you're driving the respondent to an answer. Ms. Malone, do you feel safer or less safe now that crime is up and citizens can legally carry armed guns in the streets of Chicago?
Right.
Ding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did some research. I could not find a copy of those questions that were asked, but you're 100% right. I'm sure that's where they were written.
Yeah. Well, it's Chicago. What can you say?
Yeah, and I want to point out, this is a great thing for the liberals to jump on because it's all about feelings. And I'm sorry, your feelings don't trump my rights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move on to the next one then. A self-described environmentalist affiliated with the Green Party of Chicago was bent out of shape by a youth shooting range at the Illinois State Fair. This is the same shooting range that has been set up in 48 other states. Charles, oh my goodness, now I know why you gave me this story. Paydock. Okay. Charles Paydock made his displeasure known in a letter to the editor published in the State Journal Register of Springfield, Illinois. He had gone into the Conservation World Pavilion at the fair, he says. Quote, I expected the usual stuffed animal exhibits and information on hunting licenses in Illinois, but I did not anticipate a traveling operation with no other apparent purpose than to inculcate children on how to use guns, unquote. Mr. Paydock was disturbed by this and made his displeasure known to both fair officials and the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Is this what we see at most fairs where they've got an air rifle out there?
I didn't see any pictures of it, but I would assume it's something like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and he's going into a place where he expects to see stuffed game. He expects to see hunting licenses. Wouldn't he expect to see people learning how to do that skill?
Right.
So he's going in there expecting to be offended, as I guess what the thing is then, right?
I don't know what he was expecting. I see these pictures that pop up like on my Facebook feed and different posts on the internet of pictures from 50, 60 years ago of kids practicing with rifles at the 9, 10, 12-year-old range at school.
Yeah, in public school, yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what they used to do.
Just a member of the professionally offended.
No, you're spot on.
Afraid.
That's, that's exactly right.
class was target shooting.
Right. Yeah. Right. And now the only chance they get is something like this, and they apparently are setting it up in 48 different states. But here in gun-friendly Illinois, or over there where I have to drive back to, gun-friendly Illinois, it's a major crisis. So I don't understand it, but that's what we're up against.
This guy is trying to mainstream his hoplophobia. My paranoid fear is all right. The rest of you guys are crazy. It's not me.
Right.
Yeah.
For the next article, the financially troubled group Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership may be merged into the Second Amendment Foundation. The survival of JPFO was in doubt after their spring fundraising drive raised hundreds of dollars rather than the tens of thousands needed to keep the organization alive. Some JPFO members fear that the organization will lose its character under SAF. SAF founder Alan Gottlieb said, and I quote, "They approached SAF. We said yes because it is important that the pro-rights movement, it's important to the pro-rights movement to keep JPFO alive and make it grow. JPFO and SAF will issue news releases when the merger becomes final late next week or perhaps as late as the following Monday. JPFO will get a new board of directors and function independently. In the past, we have absorbed keepandbeararms.com and Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership and kept those organizations running as they were before coming under the SAF umbrella." Well-known libertarian author Claire Wolfe, who was a contributor for JPFO, begs to disagree and went public with her disagreement on Friday night. In a series of posts at Backwoods Home, she contends any merger of JPFO and SAF would be a sellout of founder Aaron Zellman's vision for JPFO. Quoting author David Codrea, "The inescapable conclusion is this. Had gun owners stepped up and supported a group struggling after the passing of its founder, its rescue would have been unneeded."
Wow.
That's a good point.
I do want to step in here. We every episode, we used to say it live, but now you hear a recording saying we encourage everybody to join the NRA, the SAF, JPFO, and Gun Owners of America. And we support JPFO. We, from time to time, run ads for JPFO. At no cost to JPFO, by the way. We do that gratis when we have extra ad space. JPFO and SAF are different entities that work differently, and I don't think a merger would be the greatest benefit for both groups. I think JPFO is fantastic at what they do. It's how do I put this? It's like Ford and Harley Davidson merging.
Mm-hmm.
They both do good at what they do. Together, are they going to help each other? I don't see it happening.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, they could with cross-marketing. In general, they have the same goal or very, very similar. No, Harley Davidson's not going to start making Ford pickup trucks, and Ford's not going to make motorcycles. But there is some cross-promotion that would benefit both. I mean, they have Ford Harley Davidson pickup trucks, and people are buying them because they're Harley Davidson people.
But see, that's different because Ford paid for the rights to use the Harley name. They didn't get Harley's engineers in to start redesign the truck.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. That's
Well,
the difference. Yeah.
okay, let me look from another point of view. And Claire Wolf said, "Oh, there are other things JPFO could have done to survive." Yeah, but they didn't. They had a fall fundraising drive that fell flat. Say that 3 times fast. And I'm sorry, and it was spring fundraising drive, not fall. So, okay, we won't merge the 2 organizations. We'll just let JPFO go away.
Exactly.
Yeah, go, Rachel.
Yeah, exactly, Rob. I mean, that's what I was thinking too. Maybe in the best of all possible worlds, JPFO would have continued as its own individual organization with plenty of funding. That would be great. I think we'd all like that.
Yay, I want to sign up.
Yeah, in absence of that, if it's a choice between it just slipping away into nothing or being continued by SAF, I think it's great that SAF stepped up. I have respect for SAF as an organization. I really do.
Right.
So even if JFPO ends up going a slightly different direction or changes, I still think it's good and valuable to keep it going as an organization.
I'm a SAF lifer, and I'm proud that we are now supporting JPFO. And you know what? I'll probably put another 20 in the collection plate for them.
That's great.
I'm a life member of both. They're so different. They're so different.
They are.
Wow.
They are very, very different. I am a life member of the SAF, and like I said, I support JPFO, and I'm just not a life member, but I've supported them in the past, and will continue in the future.
Right. I support them both. I hope that it doesn't become what they fear, a dismantlement of JPFO. I hope it's more of a synergistic relationship, and I really believe Alan when he says that's what he wants to do, and so I'm supporting it, and overall.
All right, well, let's do this before we go on to the next story. We're running a little bit long on this segment. Let's go ahead and go to break, and we'll continue the news right after this. Okay. And Rachel, Whiskey 5A says we got, quote, detained by the APD who insisted we show him an empty chamber. But yeah, we clear from the beginning of the walk, and then a emoticon smiley face.
Yeah, that's the new on me. Getting stopped by APD at a caddy walk, being requested to show that because usually they trust the caddy leaders. So that's a new one on me. I'll have to check with some of my friends on that.
By the way, Paul, the way you just brought us in and out, after I just edited 8 segments, not all of them were 15 minutes. Thank you and Susan so much for editing. Oh my gosh.
Thank you for breaking them up like you are. It makes my job a lot easier. I should be able to easily piece that together in the morning.
I went through them and took out the burps in most cases.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, you guys do it all the time. It was my turn.
Gary, you got first story coming in. You want to bring us in?
Sure. Welcome back. Continuing our news segment, we have a story from Washington, D.C. D.C. City Council Chairman Phil Mendelson told Fox 5 on Thursday that he will appeal the gun carry ruling. Making the information public for the first time, the whole issue of the public carrying a firearm is very complicated, Mendelson said, and I believe the executive and the Attorney General will continue with the appeal. Also this week, the city asked the court for 6 more months to rewrite its gun laws. Right now, the city has until October 22nd. That's why Mendelson said gun carry would be at the top of the agenda when the city council returns from recess. What the court said very clearly was that a complete 100% ban on anybody being able to get a license to carry a handgun was unconstitutional. But there's a gray area between 100% and 100% ban and everybody can carry. And that's what we're working through.
Oh wow. Yeah. You know, what was the? I'm trying to remember the exact quote from Martin Luther King Jr. A right delayed is a right denied.
Denied. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
May I just blow my horn a little bit since I just said they were going to do this
Did
4 days ago on the last podcast? This is exactly what they did to us in Illinois. Oh, no, your laws are violating everybody's rights. Oh, well, we'd like to do it for another 6 months or a year because we need to think about it some more. Because we don't care about violating people's rights. We want to make sure we can make more legislation.
That's right.
it is a political tactic that really works, given that they can legislate in moments and it takes years to clean it up in the courts.
Oh,
Given
yeah.
given that setting, delay, deny, and obstruct works really well for their side.
And that's exactly what they've been doing for 5 years while this has been court. Spending taxpayer money, fighting for their political agenda, not what the people want. They're spending the people's money on something the people don't want. It blows my mind that this is even allowed in the political system. I can understand someone bringing a lawsuit and saying, this law is unconstitutional, and them spending their money to say this is unconstitutional, presenting it before a judge, and a judge deciding on it. I don't understand how the city or D.C. can spend taxpayer money to fight this in the courts, because not all the taxpayers believe in it. I'm a little bit-
Gary, who cares?
Yeah.
They're
They don't.
they're spending somebody else's money.
Mm-hmm. You can be very
Shouldn't
generous.
be
when
allowed,
you're
that's my
spending
point.
Somebody else's money.
Who's
Yeah.
going to stop? As somebody recently said of Obama, we have the Senate. Who's going to stop us?
Yeah.
They have the Senate until November.
I hope your lips to God's ears.
Actually, January.
Yeah, January
yes,
20th.
yes.
It's going to be the most dangerous 6 months in the nation's history.
Are you? Well, you know what though, because
Which no,
you
3
got
months.
The most dangerous 6 months in the nation's history was when the House went away from the Democrats. Well, it was not even 6 months. It was the 6 weeks
Well,
between election.
I meant from now till the new Senate is sworn in. It's going to be a very, very dangerous period.
Well, and where I'm absolutely praying that every conservative justice stays healthy and decides to stay in office
Amen.
until at least we get through this election cycle.
Yeah, because that could totally shake things up a lot. Anyway, moving along. Here in Texas, blacks are protesting police violence in a particularly southwestern way by invoking their right to open carry. On Wednesday, more than 30 members of the newly formed Huey P. Newton
Oh no!
entered a restaurant with their weapons, while Dallas police officers were
Rachel,
Yes.
you're gonna have to start again. You really,
You went flat.
yeah, you digitally went away.
Oh, whoops, okay.
Just from the beginning, if you could.
Okay, let me try that. Here in Texas, blacks are protesting police violence in a particularly southwestern way by invoking their right to open carry. On Wednesday, more than 30 members of the newly formed Huey P. Newton Gun Club gathered to march through South Dallas with rifles and shotguns. The group eventually entered a restaurant with their weapons while Dallas police officers were inside eating lunch. The Gun Club's website states that the recent murders of unarmed black, brown, and whites across the United States of America has eradicated trust in the police. Of historical interest, California's 1967 Mulford Act, which banned the open carry of a loaded firearm in a public place, was a response to the openly armed Black Panther police patrols in Oakland. Governor Ronald Reagan signed the bill after about 24 Black Panthers, armed with rifles and shotguns, attempted to enter the assembly chamber in the state capitol. At the time, Reagan commented, "There's no reason why, on the street today, a citizen should be carrying loaded weapons."
Do you think that's the intent of these particular protests, Rachel? Are they done with goodwill?
I don't know these particular people, so I can't speak to them. I can speculate. I mean, the open carriers I know, they don't have malicious intentions.
Because if a bunch of radicals carried long guns and shot a bunch of police eating lunch, we'd lose the right to carry. The Clark County prosecutor said Tuesday he will dismiss a firearms-related charge against a Vancouver man who said he was merely taking Vice President Joe Biden's advice on how to defend his property from car prowlers. Instead, the man will be prosecuted for obstructing a police officer. Jeffrey C. Barton, aged 53, made international news when he told journalists, quote, "I did what Joe Biden told me to do. I went outside and fired my shotgun in the air," close quote. That's a reference to the vice president's answer to a question in February 2013 about home defense. Biden responded that Americans, they don't need to own semi-automatic weapons because a couple of blasts from an old shotgun will scare off intruders. Barton's comment, dubbed the Joe Biden defense, was circulated widely among Second Amendment activists and also landed a 2-minute segment on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. However, the firearms charge will be replaced with a charge of obstructing a law enforcement officer. Golick, and I'm not sure who Golick is, said ethical guidelines prevented him from discussing specific reasons for the new charge. The individual charged, Jeffrey Barton, said on Tuesday that the new charge is also groundless. I guess Golick is the prosecutor. Tony Golick is desperately grasping at straws to keep his ass out of a civil suit, which he's going to get anyway.
Wow. Now, I wonder what obstructing a police officer, I wonder what he did, because I remember this coming out, and I didn't remember a struggle with police. I don't remember a argument with police. I remember he gave the, I'm doing what the vice president told me to do, but I don't remember. I don't know. It might just be my uninformedness on this, but yeah, I didn't recall a struggle between police when the story came out.
No, I didn't hear anything either. It seems like, we can't charge you with something the vice president told you to do, so we've come up with something different, and we're going to charge you with. We want to charge you with something.
Yeah, we're seeing that in many cases in Texas. There'll be a preliminary firearms charge, and they'll realize that really wasn't founded, so they'll come back with something else, like obstructing a law enforcement officer or resisting an arrest, when now they're saying there wasn't even a reason for an arrest. So it's, I think that's a popular tactic sometimes, unfortunately.
In California, the catch-all is disturbing the peace, which could be raising your voice.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm going to miss slow Joe Biden.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Ever since Saturday Night Live went bad, we have to depend on him for comedy.
Yeah, definitely good for something.
But didn't Saturday Night Live go bad like a very long time ago?
Okay, worse.
Okay.
Joe Biden went bad a long time ago too. So it's
yes. Our next story, that last week a Maryland District Court judge said modern semi-automatic rifles are only used for offense. That's why these firearms are not protected by the right to bear arms. Now it's clear that some citizens are more equal than others. Compton, California School Board authorized school resource officers to carry AR-15s. The local police chief said that modern rifles were necessary so police could engage targets at 150 to 300 feet and to penetrate soft body armor. If they can only shoot 100 yards with an AR-15, they need more training. They really do.
I'm going to have to stop doing the show. You guys are going to make me cry. it's bad enough the little bit that I actually see myself on the internet, but then you guys find all these other stories, and where did this? I don't understand how these people come up with this logic, and say it with a straight face.
Yeah, it must take practice to use a straight face on this stuff.
It's so upsetting. Where are you coming up with this?
But they're only offensive weapons if you have them, Gary. School resource officers, that's a very different case.
It must be the blue polyester. I'll have to get some.
Yeah. There we go. What every gun owner now needs. Blue polyester coveralls. We're there.
I guess. I don't know.
The road to equality is paved with blue polyester.
You guys going to see a 425-pound, 6'5" tall man cry right here.
It's loud.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but this is all pointing out why we really need Hillary for president.
Oh goodness. Okay. Before we get too depressed, let's move on to something else. So, I've said before that you are an ambassador for the gun culture, and you are our secret weapon. Well, here is to you, and this story is to your credit. And I'll wait till the end to tell you where the story came from. A major media company ran a video segment on women in the shooting sports. They noted that women form a new and growing segment of the shooting sports. The number of women target shooting has grown by 70% in the last 10 years. Women have also taken up hunting, with 3 million women taking part each year, and I'm a part of both those statistics. Women are involved in every aspect of firearms ownership, not simply self-defense. The stereotype that the NRA has scared women into buying guns is false. And here's the best part. The article appeared on CBS this morning.
No.
Yeah. So, hey, it's not all bad.
Y'all, I want somebody to check the thermometer and see if it is snowing in hell.
It might have been.
Because CBS ran a pro-gun article? Wow.
Yep. Something's changing.
Well, that's a little funny, and so is this next story. In a twisted, dark, humorous sort of way, in my own backyard, California State University San Marcos faculty member was surrounded by SWAT cops for open carrying. He was open carrying an umbrella on campus. It rarely rains in California, but it did this particular morning. Someone called the San Diego County Sheriff's Office to report a bald white male wearing a black shirt and jeans and walking across campus carrying a rifle. This resulted in a shelter-in-place order for some. When it rains, we have to shower in place. Sorry. This resulted in a shelter-in-place order for some 400 staff and new students going through new student orientation. Faculty and students huddled behind doors barricaded with tables and chairs. 30 minutes later, the umbrella-bearing teacher figured out that he matched the description of the alleged gunman, and he contacted police to arrange his surrender. Wow.
Oh, my word. You know what I'm thinking? If California only had a Caddy California group, Californians might not be so confused, and they could actually know what a rifle looked like, so they didn't confuse it with umbrella.
There you go.
Wow. I just wow.
But I'll point out, it takes being on a California State University to be that stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that a sport now? You get a running start when you leap to conclusions?
Very funny.
Well, who gets the gun quote?
I'll go ahead. Rachel, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, this one is from Michael Bain on Gun and Hunting Culture 2.0. He says, an attack on a hunter is an attack on all hunters, is an attack on all gun owners. Respond accordingly.
Hear, hear.
I like that one. We've got interview with Charlie Foxtrot coming up. Yeah, he's hanging out through the show, but we're actually going to do an official interview. So hang on, everybody. We'll do that right after this. Okay.
Okay, let me save this part. You always say that.
No. Happens automatically.
It's neat seeing the magic made.
It's the sweet smell of sausage. Gary, I put a comment with the word hoplophobe in it, and you didn't take it.
I didn't understand what you were. I didn't even understand what you had written.
Well, in that case, I'm glad you didn't bring it up.
I never check for ability, opportunity, and demonstrate intent. Yeah.
Whoa! I got
Yeah.
one.
No, I'm not. No,
Rachel,
I'm not.
I've got the wrong one in here too. I got 161 in the show notes. How'd that happen? Under Google Drive, somebody got the wrong one in there.
No,
Really?
I pulled up 260, 268.
Well,
263.
mine shows 261. So open.
I'm on 263. That's what I've been reading from.
263.
There you
I
go.
first pulled
Okay.
up 261, but then I
Had
switched.
to go and fix it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you shared 263 with me, Rob.
No, I got that part.
Oh.
It's just that when I went to Google Drive and you do the shared docs right over the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down.
No, it did it again.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay, I don't get to. Never mind. Never mind. Not today.
All right. Are you ready to step into the spotlight and shine?
I'm going to do my best. Paul, I'd like you to ask me how I got started on this weird trip. Or
Okay.
on this trip.
He was pushed.
Very.
All right. Well, let's give this a shot. Coming back in 5. And welcome back for the interview segment of our show. Joining us, well, he's been here the whole show, but this is a segment we're going to actually officially interview him. We've got Charlie Foxtrot on the line. He is he's behind a new blog. We'll have him tell us about that in a second. I've known Charlie Foxtrot for quite a while. He's been on the air before, and where I got to know him was he was really involved in the forums on the old Gun Rights Radio Network, and he's been on the air before talking to us about cowboy action shooting, something I'm assuming you still do. But what we wanted to talk about tonight is, man, you've got a new blog. Well, not brand new. You've been working on it for a while, but what got you going on the road to blogging, man?
Actually, Paul, it was you. Remember on the GRN forum, there was a certain podcaster there who was making a lot of noise about mandating training.
Yes.
And you and I talked about that, and you asked me to put my thoughts down on paper. And I crafted a couple of paragraphs that were very well received. And it was neat being able to summarize my feelings, my analysis, and my words, and put it out so coherently. And I like that. Now, all these years later, I've decided to do basically the same thing with my new blog, which is called NotOneMoreGunLaw.blogspot.com. And I want to thank you. And the reason I'm here on with you is you did some early work on it, gave me a lot of very good tips and recommendations, and then said, hey, when you feel comfortable with the blog, come on back and talk about it. And that's what I'm doing here today.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, I can't take credit. I'm just, itty bitty, teeny, easy weesy, but maybe a little bit of inspiration. But I can't take credit for your blog, man. It takes a ton of work. I have a lot of respect for you. I have a lot of respect for Rob. I have a lot of respect for John, because I get to sit here and run my mouth for an hour to an hour and a half once a week. Man, I tried a blog once. I know how hard it is to sit and crank that stuff out.
Yeah.
So
I'm finding that out. The blog's been going for about 3 months now, and we're trying to do it once every day to get people in the habit of checking it, to get more eyeballs on on the web page. Fortunately, I've been able to bring a commentator aboard called Archer, and he does some wonderful, thoughtful pieces. So between the two of us, we're creating content basically every 7 days and putting it out there.
Very, very cool. So, of the stuff you put up recently, is there anything that you're especially proud of, man?
Yeah, something there got an awful lot of hits. It's been featured on several other gun websites, and it just came from the heart. I've been through about 2.5 riots now, including the Watts riots when I was just a pup, the Rodney King riots, which got very up close and personal. I had buildings burning within about a city block of my house. And now my wife is very near to Ferguson, Missouri, and by herself, and it's been very difficult to see all this happening and not being there to support her. So I just kind of put it down on paper, and then threw in some fairly common advice about how to stay safe. But it seems to have gone very medium, and very proud of that.
Wow, that's wow. 2.5, whatever you want to call it, and to be that close to him is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I consider myself fortunate I haven't been that near to any of those.
And it seemed to resonate with a lot of people, the fear that it engenders. And one of the worrisome things is a lot of social scientists are predicting more and more of these disruptions. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of anxiety out there now. And with social media, smartphones, and the like, it can spread virally.
Oh, absolutely.
Even where I'm at was basically North Long Beach. The burning around me was basically a wholly separate riot, just an opportunistic riot corresponding with the stuff in downtown LA. And the Rodney King riot actually spread across the nation.
Yeah,
I think there were
absolutely,
four or five other sympathetic riots. So I was very proud of that blog post. And we've done other things. One of the other ones that was well received, I did a review of the Canadian gun laws, basically explaining them to Americans. And I'm happy to say they haven't beat me like a baby fur seal, so I apparently did something right.
You haven't seen Trevor Furlot, though, have you?
No, I haven't, but he's on my Facebook page, gracing my Facebook page, should I say, yes.
Yeah.
But even he was, for a Canadian, relatively polite.
Okay.
So it's been a labor of love for these last 3 months. Probably work on it maybe an hour each day. And really doing it for myself, I have to be honest. I like to write, and I was finding it a little bit restrictive to be just a smartass on the forums. So this is a way to extend my writing prowess, if you will. And I can point to much better writing style over these 3 months. And
now, is blogging for you like podcasting was? I mean, I am absolutely totally embarrassed. They're still there. I will never pull them down. You have to really work if you want to get to them. But the first 20 or 30 episodes of the Polite Society podcast, back when it was Politics and Guns, oh my goodness, they stunk.
oh,
But as I got in to the rhythm, as I found out what I was doing, things became part of a flow for me. And I would like to say some of the comments occasionally we get from listeners are we seem to be a bit too scripted, but I could sit down, honestly, I believe right now, turn on the microphone and put an hour show out off the cuff if I had to, just because I'm used to the flow. I would just talk about the stories of the week. Are you getting into a flow? Is it becoming easier for you as things go along?
I call it finding my voice. When you first looked at the blog, you said it was very, very plain, very short, and just a lot of declarative sentences, and they didn't really flow. Now, as I've been going along, getting familiar with it, and also finding my voice, finding subjects I want to talk about, it's flowing much better. The posts are getting longer. I think they're getting much better, and I'm finding an actual voice separate from a lot of what I'm reading in the out there on the internet. And that is my wife calling, if you can hear that.
Okay, I looked over here again.
Yeah.
We'll make an edit point. Go ahead and answer that.
No, I'll call her back. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I knew I should have turned that off.
So as long as we're in an edit point, does anybody else want to jump in with a question?
I haven't really told you what the blog's about.
Oh. Well,
and if somebody wants to ask that question and some of the other topics.
I've asked all the questions.
I thought the title might have been sort of a clue.
Yep.
A little bit.
Well, yeah, but no, it'd be great to hear you expand it. So, yeah, and yeah, I'd like to ask the question. Can I pull him back?
Yeah.
Like now?
Go for it.
Absolutely.
We're rolling.
So, Charlie Foxtrot, with a title like that, Not One More Gun Law, that tells us the broad subject that you're interested in. But when I started my blog, I sharpened what I was interested in over time. Have you done that? How would you define today the topics of your blog?
The blog's deliberately kept very loose. We've called it something where we're dealing with the relationship between a man and his rights. Now, of course, most of those will fall in with the gun rights, with just basically context we're using. But it's very broad, and Archer and I have written things on, as diverse as the gentleman was just killed by ISIS over there. He put out an excellent post on that, heart-wrenching post. I've talked about the Shalene Allen's unjust persecution by the state of New Jersey. I've even gone about and talked about the Remington 51 and the problems that Remington is having. So we're fairly broad. We haven't decided to basically focus ourselves on one thing now, but trying to give an overall, if you will, news or commentary on the entire gun rights community, gun rights issue.
You'll have plenty to write about.
Oh yes. I've got a file full of nothing but post ideas.
Will we see you at the? Go ahead, Rachel.
Do you find that you'll come up with an idea and jot that idea down in your file and then mull over the article for a while before you come up with the whole article?
That's exactly how I write. I put it there in one large document and kind of mull over it while I'm doing work or doing my job or working on the house or whatever. And that's a neat little facet to do. Make that quote in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of nice when you just, okay, I'll write a little bit of intro and a little bit of exit, and I've got a post done. Some of them, however, are like pulling teeth, and it becomes a labor of blood, sweat, and tears, to quote Winston Churchill.
Some come easy, and some almost refuse to surrender.
And to quote him again, you just keep buggering on.
Rob, I'm a fan of your Slowfax blog.
Oh, thank you.
Do you find that ones just out of the blue become very hard to write? You don't really know why. And it's just like an industrial-grade writer's block.
I've had those, but all I do is move on. Rather than decide that this stone has to get moved, it's an open field game. Just move around it, and like you, I keep a list of topics, and if none of those excite me, just go, type in human rights on Google, and 15 seconds later, I've got a dozen topics that I want to write about.
Ah, very good. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah, that brings up a question about them. I'm not a writer at all. It's just not what I do. But you were talking about stuff being difficult. Is there something that was horribly difficult to write, but you felt driven to get it out? And then I'm curious how you felt about it after it was done.
I'll tell you a recent one. It was Michael Bain's Gun and Hunting Culture 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what he was saying. I thought it was brilliant. And I decided to do a piece around it. And that thing was like, put your favorite accolade to that. It was just awful. I felt that the more I worked on it, the worse it got. I finally got into some sort of shape, posted it, walked away from it. And you know what? It's one of the most popular ones on the blog. Go figure.
Powerful to the reaction, or how did you feel after you got it done?
Relieved.
There was a dose of honesty.
The scatological reference would be probably better, but I don't think we want to go there. But no, I just thank God it's done. Thank God it's off my plate. I've said kind of what I wanted, kind of in the way I wanted it. And I'll probably come back to it later, but who knows?
So is there a particular subject you enjoy writing about more?
Well, I enjoy looking at the gun rights and the gun laws, some of the decisions that are coming down now. I would love to write about, for example, Heller, although it came too early for the blog, but something like that, something where I can keep my eyes open, analyze the judicial opinions, and hopefully summarize it for people, even though I'm not a lawyer.
Sure. So you're following the D.C. carry ban and the legal case that's been going on for 5 years now. You're following that pretty closely, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. And
I think it's right out in your neck of the woods too.
Right.
And of course, there's always the California laws that are going on right now. And Rob and I were talking about the crazy law that will basically almost eliminate the sale of ammunition, make it so onerous and so expensive to buy even reloading components. And that's going to be going on to Jerry Brown's desk very soon. And I've got a post and work about that.
Charlie Foxtrot, I have this question, or I'll express it as a confession and tell me if it works the same for you. I write best about things that I desperately want to understand.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. And so I'm going, this is fascinating. If I knew everything about it, I could write 3 sentences, we're done. But it's when I have to struggle to understand it, untangle it, explain it to myself, and my readers are really along for the ride of this process of discovery. And hopefully I've become a good enough writer to put it in a clear and entertaining way. Is that where you are now?
That's brilliant. But I would have never guessed it from reading your blog. It sounds like you're the subject matter expert and just flows out on the screen. But part of the reason I wanted to start this blog is to formalize the process of looking at something, understanding it, clarifying my thoughts, and presenting something in a very, very quick and readable format.
So you write like a duck.
I walk like one too.
Well, it looks smooth on the surface, but there's a whole lot going on underwater.
Oh yeah. But I am thrilled to hear you do that too.
I think that's the common. I think that is the method.
That is brilliant, and it's also, for me, it's a driving force. I know nothing about this, but I want to have conciseness and clarity. and that the readers come along, that's just icing on the cake, if you will.
Yeah, if you stick with it, you will be an expert.
Well,
Well,
thank
and
you
if-
for that.
If blogs are anything like podcasts, I can't say that I've done anything super special. I can't say that there's any one, or two tricks I pulled that exploded listenership. I just kept at it, and the listeners came. So I would hope it'd be the same thing with blogging. Keep at it, readers will come.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
So
I
No, I've
certainly
got it.
appreciate your guidance.
I gotta ask, are you still doing the cowboy action shooting?
With the problems with the jobs and the disruption of my wife moving back east, it's kind of been put on hold.
Okay,
Uh,
that's totally understandable.
So, in fact, I was invited to go out to a cowboy match actually today, but I'm having to work on the house. So, oh well.
Okay.
But boy, it's near and dear to my heart. And
Sure.
there's nothing better and there's nothing funner with your spurs on.
Mhm.
So Rob started to ask this one earlier, and I think this is where he was going. So I'm just going to steal it from him. Are you going to be at Gun Rights Policy Conference here next month?
That's off in Chicago, isn't it?
It is.
That's a little far for a Southern Californian.
It's end of September. It's not below freezing up there yet. It'll be
It's
getting
most
close.
of the way to go visit your wife.
Well, it's probably another. Well, you're right there, 200 miles.
Yeah,
But I
that's
think
just a
if
little
I
commuter
flew out
flight
to
from
see her
you
and then I
have-
left for the conference, I might not find.
You were gonna have to change planes in Chicago anyway. Sorry about that. That's just reality.
Look. If you ever, if you're thinking that you're going to get writer's block or you need some more notes to write about,
Oh, this will
come to
fix it.
Chicago. We got plenty of not one more gun law to write about. Trust me.
Okay. You know what? It's definitely on my bucket list. I basically had to be dragged from the one that was here in San Francisco, I believe, 2 years ago, and work intruded. But no, I simply want to do that. It's just that and the NRA convention and a SHOT Show.
Well, SHOT Show's right near. Well, a short drive for you, about 4.5, 5 hours
Hmm.
up in Vegas every year. So.
And now that I is a blogger, maybe I can get media credentials.
That'll be keep looking at shotshow.org. They're going to be opening that up here very, very soon. I think in another couple weeks. So,
Very cool.
well, before
do
we
you
go
know if
ahead.
anybody's going to be broadcasting the conference like Mark Vandenberg used to do?
Talk to me off air. Maybe, but
Cool.
I can't. Not on air. We are coming up on the end of the segment here. So, before we take off, though, everybody, if we could please have you give everybody the web address for your blog one more time.
Okay. You can find it at notonemoregunlaw.blogspot.com. Or if you're a Facebook addict, I've got the Not One More Gun Law page on Facebook. And I'd like to hear every bit of comments and criticism.
We'll make sure that both those are up on the show notes, and I'll make sure that we give your Facebook page a push from ours. So,
Well,
Is-
thank you, sir.
Is it really Che Guerrero with Mickey Mouse ears?
Yes.
Okay.
That's one of my observations over the years. The liberals hate it the most when you laugh at them. Hence the Mickey Mouse ears on Che Guevara.
Okay.
wow, very cool. Well, we do have to step off to break, and when we come back, we'll have our defensive gun use segment. So hang on, everybody. We'll be right back right after this.
Thank you guys. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, No problem at all, man. No problem at all. And seriously, man, if you write something you want to talk about anytime, you're welcome back.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Leg stretch.
Oh. Gary's trying to do the flash dance impression over here.
I can do that.
The what do they call the saggy pants version of the hot brass dance?
He's and he had to get up and stretch. Okay, DGUs. How are we gonna?
We already gave them away, dude. You're behind.
Yeah, they're kind of divided up.
All right. Well, let me get to the right place in the show notes. Who gets the first one? Rachel.
I've got the first one. Let's got 5 of them. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are we ready to roll?
Whenever you are, just give me a mark.
Okay, I'm ready to go. Coming back in 5. Welcome back to the Polite Society podcast. This is our DGU segment where we talk about defensive gun use. I've got the first one from here in Texas. A home invasion ended in gunfire in an East Harris County, Texas apartment Thursday morning. Deputies were called to a shooting at the Saddle Ridge Apartments on Wood Forest just before 7 a.m. Sergeant Gary Harrison says during that home invasion, the man who lives inside the apartment shot one of the suspects in self-defense. That young man was airlifted to Ben Taub Hospital. 3 suspects were involved. 1 other was taken into custody. The 3rd fled the scene once gunfire erupted. Investigators are looking into whether these suspects were responsible for any earlier incidents in the area.
You know, it's really embarrassing, and my wife and I proceed to both inspire, nag, and embarrass each other when we realize how long it sometimes would take to get to a firearm in our home. I know, I hear you, Rachel. 24/7 or guess right, but
Yep.
Okay, I'm confessing I'm not perfect.
Pants go on, gun goes on.
There you go.
Do you guys carry even in the house?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And that'll be coming up in the email
Sometimes.
segment in a little bit. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that again.
And our next one, 73-year-old Liburn, Georgia woman shot through a door as a burglar approached her bedroom, and then she chased him out of her house, continuing fire, according to a police report. According to a report on the incident obtained by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution Thursday, Douglas said someone rang her doorbell around 9:45 p.m. on August 3rd. She looked out of her bedroom window and spotted a truck parked nearby in the middle of the intersection at Falconhurst Drive and Hewitt Road. Douglas called 911 and waited. Moments later, however, she heard glass shattering and then the pottery she placed in front of her back door breaking, so she grabbed her gun. According to the report, Douglas stayed in the bedroom, but she could see light from a flashlight getting closer from under her door. When she heard the doorknob turn, she fired once through the door. She then heard a scream on the other side of the door, and the subject fled downstairs. Douglas went downstairs and saw the subject in the kitchen looking for the back door. She fired several more shots in the general direction of the suspect as he ran outside. While detectives are still investigating at the Douglas house, Jamie Christopher Lewis showed up at the Eastside Medical Center in Snellville with a non-threatening gunshot wound to the chest. He was charged with burglary. All's well that ends well, but I probably would have waited till he opened the door.
Yeah.
I would. I guess
we don't know enough information, though. We don't
Right.
know if she has other people who have access to her house, relatives, friends, family members that
Right.
may have been coming in. But if that's a complete impossibility, okay, maybe.
Well, and I guess my thing is the guy, he screamed, He ran. He was looking for an exit. I guess at that point I'd quit shooting.
Okay, we were talking about shooting through the door.
Right.
You're right. Don't go hunting. Don't go chasing. Stay where you are. Wait for the police. We were talking about whether or not she should have fired through the door or waited until
Right,
it opened.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm 50-50 on that one. In her circumstance,
We don't know enough details.
yeah.
Well, okay. We can easily paint it each way.
Right.
I'm trying to reach the neighbor next door. Something's happened to her car out front. I've pounded on her front door. She doesn't answer. I come in through the back. You could easily argue I shouldn't. You would be absolutely right.
Yep.
But she didn't identify her target. I think she was lucky that she didn't kill a neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm glad it turned out. Isn't this bizarre? A criminal was shot. I'm glad that that's who it was, and she didn't hurt an innocent person.
Right. Exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next one. And this one is from Charleston, South Carolina. An Ashley Avenue woman told police she fired a gun at two teens who tried to rob her at her home Wednesday night. Charleston police responded to the woman's home at, we're not going to list the address, about 10:20 p.m. and found several bullet holes in the wall and window, according to an incident report. The woman told detectives she was getting out of her car with her child in her arms when two teens with guns approached from the rear of the apartment building. The teens ordered her into the house. Once she was inside, she ran into her bedroom, put her child on the bed, grabbed her gun, the report says. She walked into the living room where the teens were standing and started shooting, prompting the teens to run out the door. No one has been arrested, Charleston police spokesman Charles Francis said. You know what? With the kid in your hands, even if she were carrying on her body, well, I don't know. I'm not I'm a grandfather, not a father, and so I don't know if I'd be firing with a kid in my hands or not. But I don't know that I'm willing to. Usually, I say carry on your body, don't hide the gun in the house. But I don't know.
Personally, I say definitely if you've got kids around, you want it on your body. I know a lot of people who jump to the opposite conclusion, say, well, if I'm going to have kids I'm taking care of, I don't want it on me. I say no. I want it on me. That way I know where it is, and I'm closer to it than the kids are.
Sure, absolutely. I'll agree with that 110%. I just don't know if I'd be firing with a kid in my hands.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
Yeah. I would still probably run to the bedroom, put the kid on the bed, then turn around when the kid's safe. And start fighting.
Yep.
I mean, we can do training, even holding something in a hand. I've done training simulating having a kid in one hand and having the other hand free. I mean, I think it is a matter of training.
Okay, because what did you call it in the last episode? A gun inspection where everybody has to tell us where their firearm is. What did you call it?
Yeah, gun check or something?
Gun check, yes.
Gun
okay.
check.
Show of hands on the internet. Who has done a drill where one or both hands, both strong side and weak side, had about a 24-inch doll in it, and then you had to go to guns?
Hand up.
Yep.
I've done that.
Believe it or not, they actually designed a stage like that in one of the IDPA matches that I've shot. Yep. They had a doll, and you started the stage with the doll in your arms. The doll also had a Ziploc baggie with an egg in it.
Wow.
So you had to put the doll down gently.
Wow.
And begin shooting. So it was very, let's say, realistic as far as all aspects of it. But in this story, the same way with the last one, we don't know the details. I'm amazed that she had the opportunity to go to the bedroom, put the kid down, come back, and start shooting at these youths with guns. So she knew the details. We don't know all the details. It's amazing that she was able to to have those opportunities and still be able to defend herself and protect her child and everything. Wow. I'm just saying, it's amazing.
It's a chaotic situation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now go ahead.
Is South Carolina a stand your ground state?
If John was here, he'd know. I don't.
I don't know.
You know,
Sure.
Rob,
But
you
here-
and I have to retreat. We have a duty to retreat, which makes
Right.
it a whole different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's where my guns are, in the master bedroom, our safe room.
Yeah. Right. On the other hand, she had retreated to a room, and there were people threatening her with a firearm. She probably has just cause. One thing that's fascinating, and I've noticed it in the last several DGUs we're mentioning, we have a lot of gun owners who need to go to the range more. They're not used to acquiring and hitting a target under stress.
Yeah, well, that's one of the great things about competition. Just the stress of the other shooters watching, other people in your squad, and that clock. That clock is very stressful. So
that ugly clock.
It's brutal. Because when I first started, I tried to go slow, but this beep, there's a clock. Oh, guy, run! You know, I couldn't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Anytime you add in anything besides just plain straight shooting, your ability is going to go way down until you train yourself up to that. Case in point, Thursday we were shooting, and my brother, whom I'm raising as my kid, was out there, and he hasn't done a lot of shooting, but he handles the gun very safely, so I let him go ahead and do training with us. And so I had him do just some plain standing drills, coming up from a low ready, and he's perfectly safe. So I said, okay, you can start moving. So what we were doing is, we'd be talking in conversation behind the firing line. When we said his particular code word, he had to move and then do 2 hits on the steel. And he was amazed. He was talking about it all yesterday, about how his shooting abilities just dropped as soon as he added a little tiny bit of slow movement in. So, your accuracy will really go down if you haven't trained with that kind of thing.
Even in cowboy action shooting, that timer is your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You boop, and you lose everything.
Well, I hadn't thought that any of us were experts, but I noticed that everyone here on this program deliberately puts themselves in training or instructional classes where they are severely stressed. That's true for all of the commentators you have here.
And I like that about you guys. I really do.
Right.
Well, thank you for stepping up your training to that level.
Yeah, the only thing that we have available is force on force, which is not very available. But I mean, the competition shooting is as close as we can get to feeling that little bit of stress. That's nothing like a real incident, but it's as close as we can. And the closer your training is to the actual event, the better you're going to respond to that event. Absolutely.
Let me add one more thing, Gary. It doesn't mean that you will necessarily be more lethal. It means that you might be more aware and know when shooting is not necessary.
Absolutely.
Great point.
Knowing your skill level, and like you said, being aware of incidences, and you're right. You're 100% right.
Well, to use the example we just had, if I had never trained, I might panic and shoot through a door. Now I think I have enough awareness under more circumstances. You can invent some where I'll panic and shoot through a door, but under more circumstances, I might be able to force myself to identify my target.
Oh, perfect example. Absolutely. You're 100% right.
Happens I'm going to record this show. How often does that happen? Our next DGU, shall I go on?
Certainly.
This is a jewelry store employee who shot at a suspected robber Thursday afternoon in the Asian Garden Mall. The incident occurred Just afternoon, 12:25 p.m. Inside, wait for this, Tick-Tock Watches. And this is in Westminster, California. Charlie Foxtrot, that's right up near you, isn't it?
I actually believe I know the place.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If it's on Westminster Boulevard, yeah. Right next to one of my favorite Vietnamese restaurants.
And watch stores in D.C. have been hit for years. They're very common to hear about them being robbed. Two men wearing ski masks and hooded sweatshirts entered the store, then used a hammer to break glass on the display cases. They then grabbed the merchandise. One witness reported that one of the men may have been armed with a gun. A store employee pulled out a weapon and fired 2 shots at the robbers. The robbers fled the store, possibly with some merchandise, but police don't know whether either was struck by the gunfire.
Pants on, gun on.
Yep.
Do you think they used the sights?
Inside a store? No, I don't.
Well, but okay. They're wondering whether somebody was hit, and I'm just wondering, under the stress, they probably just pointed and squeezed.
Quite likely.
There's been a lot of interviews with that. It seems like people that train a lot with the sights use them, but are completely unaware that they have used them. And I'm talking about police officers who train a lot, like Jim Cirillo type of somebody who trains a lot and ends up being in a lot of events. They interview them afterwards and they don't know. And I think that's, but I believe that the training is that they are using the sights. They're reverting to their training, but they're not thinking about their training when they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me from a quote from Jim Cirillo. He was talking about one of his first engagements with a gun, and he was a big-time competitive shooter before that.
Right.
So when he presented his gun, he saw the front sight, and he knew everything's going to be okay. That's a powerful recommendation for training.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely. Our next story is a tragic news item with a message. San Bernardino policeman remained in a medically induced coma today. The man who assaulted the police officer was killed by the policeman's patrol partner, 31-year-old patrolman Gabriel Garcia. Was in extremely critical condition in Colton, California. Garcia is a highly commended 6-year veteran of the department who has spent much of his career on patrol duty. His father, Ron Garcia, is a captain within the department. Garcia and his partner, trainee on the job for just 2 months, stopped to talk to a group of people standing outside a home in a cul-de-sac when one of the group pulled out a gun and opened fire. Officer Garcia was struck 3 times. Garcia's partner fired at least 30 rounds and wounded the gunman. The 38-year-old assailant died at the hospital. 2 other men at the scene were arrested and jailed. One was held on suspicion of attempted murder, possession of an assault rifle, and possession of a sawed-off rifle. Another one was arrested in connection with outstanding traffic warrants.
30 shots. Do you think he reloaded?
38. Was it, or 30?
30.
Yeah, 30 rounds.
I mean, unless he carries my magazine around with him that sticks in good 6 inches out the bottom.
Yeah.
It's police have a dangerous job, and yeah, I don't know. This is August. This is where was this again? This was in California, San Bernardino. August in San Bernardino. I don't think you're going to be wearing trench coats. Mm-hmm. How in the world were they concealing even a sawed-off? You know,
standing behind a car, standing at the back of a car.
Yeah.
Somebody reaches in.
Yeah.
Officer
Yeah.
Garcia was a training officer. His partner was only out of the academy in 2 months.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he had a tough row to hoe.
Well, and I mean, good on the trainee because he fired until the threat stopped. You know, this is what it sounds like. He obviously what I was trying to with a smart alecky way. What I was trying to say was the guy successfully reloaded. You know, and kept in the fight.
Stayed in the fight. Yes.
Yeah.
Here's my takeaway as a civilian: criminals don't fight fair. I mean, several people attacked these officers at one time. And for civilians, the average number of people involved in an assault or strong arm robbery is, I think, 2.3 to 1. So, yeah, this defending officer reloaded and kept firing to neutralize the threat. That's probably what I'm going to face too. We report on, well, even in our DGUs that we reported today, it's usually many on one.
Right. And Rob, tell me why a single citizen in California only needs 10 rounds to defend themselves?
Because that's what the California legislature said, and they're a bunch of idiots.
Well said.
I would just about guarantee you this officer probably only had to reload once.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Because I don't think they carry 1911s.
No.
And I do not think they carry 10-round mags as police officers. Well, we do have links to each of our news and defensive gun use stories at Polite Society Podcast if you want to look them up for yourself or if you want to share them with a friend. Hang on, everybody. We've got email coming up right after this. And I'm going to have to cheat. It's going to take me just a second to do this because I have not gotten emails over to show notes. So what
Do you
I'm
have
doing?
some emails?
Oh, yes.
Oh, cool. Good.
I'm going to have to read them, though, because they are, good Lord, I am getting a ton of them.
Good.
I don't think it'll work with my email program, but let me try this.
Are you guys hearing my German Shepherds losing their minds?
A
No.
little bit. Actually, they sounded a little closer to squeaky toys than German Shepherds.
They're barking at something in the alleyway.
Are you headed out of state, CF?
Yes.
Okay.
We had originally thought we'd be going to Missouri, and the wife is no longer happy with Missouri.
Okay.
So it looks like we're going to be lighting on my first choice, which was Texas.
Good on ya.
There you go.
And in the Houston area, basically southwest of Houston, a little place called Richmond.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with it.
They've got a wonderful little David Weekley subdivision going up, and we think we found our home.
I gave you my email on Facebook. We'll talk.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
If you want, there's been kind of an issue with the with an unarmed man hurting an armed officer. You know, like the Michael Brown versus the officer in Ferguson. In my hometown of Lakewood, California, we had a deputy that I happen to know who was knocked to the ground and then stomped on by an unarmed civilian, if you will. And he'll probably never walk again and maybe never talk again.
Oh,
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I was considering putting that up on the blog, and I decided not to. It's just too personal.
Too hard.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you need to tell the truth that police get hurt and they're real people and you know them.
Can't transfer from that to there.
So Let some time go by and write when you can.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
From the
Please. Yeah, obviously
Is
you
that
do
your
what you
Gmail?
have to, but please,
That's
you
that's
could.
Thunderbird. That's
Someone
not
needs-
Gmail, that's Politics and Guns.
In some sense, a civilian needs to tell their story.
I would
Computer.
need
Don't,
to.
don't you have a Gmail account?
That's
Yes.
an excellent
So
thought.
forward those emails
I
to
will.
your Gmail
I
account.
will see what I can do.
Okay.
But wow, I mean, it kind of puts the Ferguson thing in a whole new light.
It does. I was listening to Guns Over Texas, and a police officer said, "You don't understand. I can never lose a fight. If I lose a fight, they take my gun away. I got a 95% chance of getting not only shot but killed. I can run away, but I can never lose."
Yeah, it's
And as a civilian, my eyes just got really big, and I went, "Oh wow, I'm such a virgin when it comes to,
Well,
combat
don't you think that applies to all of us, Rob? Well, I mean, as carriers.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, but
it's-
Gary, all right, so there's more I have to learn. I hadn't thought of that.
Okay.
but they don't know. They might not know we're carrying.
Right.
Where they know the cop has a gun at all times.
Right, but we know
but
we're
I see
carrying.
your point. Yeah.
When we teach defensive gun use, we teach de-escalation, avoid the fight, don't get into the argument because you know there's a gun involved because you're carrying one.
Right. You know there's one gun in this gunfight.
You know there's one, exactly. That's why you don't want to be involved in an argument because you know there's a gun around and because you're holding it. So yeah, de-escalate, get away, don't engage in those type of if at all costs, don't engage.
Yeah, but a cop can't do that. That makes their job even harder, isn't it? Doesn't it?
They have to. They often have to engage. Right.
That's one of the things that makes a big difference between a concealed carrier and a police officer. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, do we want to kick off the email and show close here?
Yeah. Now, did you put the emails in?
I can't.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that.
If I would have had time earlier today,
Okay,
but I
that's fine.
can't.
That's fine. No worries.
Right. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and read them off, and we'll all comment.
Sure,
There's
that works for me.
2 from Greg Tabor, and then yeah. Well, I think we're gonna stick with those 2 from Greg, and then I might throw some in show notes for Wednesdays for you guys to have. So, all right. Here we go. Coming back in 5.
Answer.
Hey, and welcome back. We've got our email and show close segment here. We've got 2 emails in from Greg. Greg from Bremerton has emailed us. He writes in his first email, Paul, I'm catching up on back episodes. Number 1, I just called Governor Krispy Kreme and uttered the 4 words, I will not comply. Number 2, as for Gary's question, I do carry a gun while at home. The answer is no, I do not. 98% of the time, I carry 2 45s. While sleeping, I have a 45 under the pillow. I also take one with me while hot tubbing. Pause. Greg, I don't want to know how you do that.
How does this work?
No.
Don't even go there.
Yeah. He says, by the way, I've had my CHL in Washington since 81. Number 3, doesn't your APU have a shutoff valves? Mine does. We had a hose go bad on ours. I just closed the valves and trucked on till we got her fixed. Pause. Yes, Greg, my APU has shutoff valves. However, my radiator, it would kind of defeat the purpose if you shut the valves off to the radiator. And that's what blew the last time. Number 4, you may be having the beyond concealed carry class in South Dakota, but you won't have Glenn Tate and Powell there, or the Fort Discovery rifle. Sorry, I just had to get that jab in. Enjoy the class. Greg, why don't we have you in South Dakota for the Beyond Concealed Carry class. Also, stay tuned because there's going to be there's much more to come on the training front next year in South Dakota. I just can't say anything more about it. Next letter, he writes, Paul, I forgot to say in my last email that my primary carry weapon is your, quote, hated, quote, unquote, 1911. I don't think there's a more recognized and intimidating modern pistol. Nothing like staring down that cavernous bore. As far as prepping, I do have some drinking water on the shelf, but would the 300 gallons in the hot tub count for stretching that?
Back on.
Absolutely not.
Non-drinking purposes, yeah. He says, I also carry silver bullet gun oil just in case. One shot, one soul. Deny them paradise. Keep them from meeting truck safety. Greg in Bremerton.
This
Greg,
guy's reading like too many Gothic novels, I think.
Yeah. Greg, I want to say to that one that I don't hate the 1911. I shot one today, as a matter of fact. They're okay. They're just not as good as the Glock. So,
Because I'm currently wearing a 1911, I'm going to de-escalate this argument.
Paul, I will
Good
take
one.
your 1911s if you have any spare ones.
There you go, Paul. We'll take yours. It's okay.
Yeah.
We understand you have a handicap.
That's
we can
right.
work it
No
out.
problem. No questions asked.
how much? I'm going to burn some listeners here, and I'm sorry, but how much does your average 1911 cost? Brand new?
Depends on what kind you go for. Taurus was probably what, $450. Kimber, new Kimber in
How
great
about,
shape.
no.
A grand.
Okay. A serviceable firearm, something somebody would carry for real for self-defense.
So a GI Colt. I don't know. What is that? 650?
Yeah.
Okay. For about the same money, just actually maybe $100 less, I can get a gun that has twice plus capacity, and
in 45.
in 40, which actually performs ballistically exactly the same.
I think you exaggerated a little, but
No.
all right. Okay.
No, I'll pull up ballistic reports.
Okay.
I'll email them to you.
No. I mean to have. I'd be surprised if it had 18 in the gun.
Standard 1911 is 7+1, right?
No, 8+1.
8+1.
The original, yeah. Now it's standard to be 8+1 now. The original was 7+1.
Okay. So 8+1. So you're right. I'm not quite twice the capacity.
Right.
Then. But
Paul, I'll absolutely. I bow. You can't see it. I'm bowing down. My knees hit the table. Guns have improved head over heels since the 1911. I just wonder why can't they make if I could get Glock reliability and a trigger that felt like the 1911. Don't tell my wife how much I'd pay to get that. I'm sorry.
Nighthawk Custom.
All right.
Yeah. But you're really talking money. My understanding is their reliability is right there. The trigger.
Oh.
Okay, I shot one today, and everybody says it's the single action only. You got to shoot the single action only. I shot a single action only. Okay, it's shorter pull than my Glock, but it didn't feel magic to me. It was okay.
Well, I think you'd be impressed with the Paratactical that has 15 rounds in it, has a 1911 trigger that is smooth, and I would believe as reliable as a Glock. I think what people argue reliability a lot, and as I've discovered, as I've kind of gotten back into shooting hot and heavy in the past 4 or 5 years, ammo is a huge factor in reliability. I bought 1,000 rounds at a gun show in Vegas, and had all kinds of 1911 problems with it. Met, when I got back here to Illinois, still had a couple of boxes, met a reloader, and he said, let me see it. He pulled out one round. He said, it's too short. Somebody loaded this too short. Now, Sammy specs have a range of the length, OAL, overall length of the round, and a 1911 likes a long 45, one that's loaded at the maximum as opposed to the minimum or somewhere in between of the 1911 round. And since I have been dealing with this reloader, I have had no reliability problems. I had all kinds of problems with that first 1,000 rounds that I bought at the gun show, and now I have no problems with them. So it's a huge factor, and I think sometimes it gets a bad mark. Now I could talk to him, but I bet you there's a length or something about a round that Glocks don't like. I don't know what that is, but I bet you there is some factors involved there. So people give guns a lot of flack over their reliability. I think it has a ton to do with the ammunition. Just my 2 cents.
Well, and I'd like to bring up one more thing to Greg and Bremerton. I guarantee you, my Glock thumb safety will never get forgotten.
This is a good point.
So why don't we go ahead and take off from there? Rob, do you have any posts on the gun? Edit point.
Edit point.
Let's go ahead and take off from there. Rob, do you have any new posts from your Slowplax?
Rob said last
Sorry,
show, if he would have known that name was so difficult to pronounce, he would not have used it.
You have to say it slowly.
Taking off from there, Rob, do you have any new posts from your Slowplax blog? Do you want to mention?
Yes, I wrote about some proposed California gun laws, and Charlie Foxtrot probably knows them equally well. It turns out, when you read them carefully, the new gun violence restraining orders have an unusual provision. These restraining orders can actually deny access for someone to sensitive areas. Look, that's what a restraining order does. You can't go see the person you're nagging or who's at risk. But think about that. Think about what it means. We know our legislators, many of them, are crazy as a loon. We have years of their lies to document it. And they're clearly a danger to themselves and others. That means we can put our legislators' sanity on trial and maybe keep California legislators out of the Capitol using these new laws. It's up at AmmoLand, it's up at Clash Daily, and it's up at my blog.
Outstanding.
Do you think we can get Feinstein and Pelosi? Well, I know Feinstein's got a concealed carry permit. You know, I know she's armed. So
well, see, not only can we take away the guns they have, we can keep them from being any place where firearms are present. And it just so happens those two names were the two images I used on the post. Yes.
Nice.
Sweet.
Well, that does wrap up another episode of the Polite Society podcast. Until the midweek show, everybody.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
Awesome show, guys.
Very nice.
I've got some editing to do on this one. Ooh.
It's okay, I jumped in the end there because you guys still had John on it. It's okay to change that.
Glad you fixed it.
Showed that it.
I just typed me in 10 seconds ago.
Oh. Fine.
See, you're a pro now.
I trying to keep up.
Okay, obviously Wednesday I'm going to be nowhere around. Next weekend I have no clue for guests. I haven't even started looking yet.
I'll talk to, let's see, by Wednesday of that week, SAF should be a done deal, so maybe we can get Charles Heller back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll race you to see which one of us gets to him first.
You win.
Oh, you mean the JPFO?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I would really like. Did you see the post I put in the staff pages? There, really, I'd like to get Andrew Rothman back on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah. That'll be cute as heck. So
I mean, it won't be a long segment, but
Yeah, but he's a great interview.
we're getting faces
Are-
made from the other room at us over here.
Okay, let's talk about comments from any listeners that we have, and then go offline.
You know what? I haven't really gotten. Let me see here. Go back. I haven't gotten any notifications recently.
Anybody on YouTube?
Yeah, there's been a few viewers. Just some people checking in. Mostly just checking in and Whiskey saying, commenting about Kroger. Kroger said we'll continue to follow state and local law. Now go away. I hope they worded it exactly like that.
It was close.
Whiskey also said to Rachel, thanks for the confirmation. I said, it's not the law that we do that. Cop said, do you know? Are you guessing? I said, I know. He said, if it's not written, does it make it legal or illegal? And then the comment cuts off. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's it. Now we're just getting back into the stuff we've already covered. So, but yeah, thank you, viewers on YouTube. Thank you, Whiskey, for sending those comments in. And everybody, do join us next weekend. Of course, now remember the midweek shows are done on Skype. They're not done on YouTube anymore. It's just easier for those folks. And it makes it easier for them because if they do a little bit of the editing, it makes my job on Saturdays and Sundays a lot easier. So we're going to continue just saying thank you to viewers and come join us next weekend. We're going to go ahead and take her offline.